They tried to bury it. They tried to erase it from the scrolls, the temples, and even the memories of those who once whispered it in secret chambers of gold and cedar. But a prophecy, especially one spoken by a king chosen by God himself, cannot be silenced forever. What if I told you that one of the most powerful and hidden teachings of King Solomon, the man gifted with divine wisdom beyond human comprehension, has resurfaced, and it holds something the world was never meant to see? 6 numbers, 6 divine codes whispered through time, meant for the humble, the faithful, and the awakened. You may think you've heard stories like this before, of old scrolls, forbidden books, hidden prayers, but this one is different, because this one works. And those who've spoken it with faith, with reverence, and with urgency, have seen the impossible unfold. We're talking about unexpected checks, cleared debts, doors of favor flung open, and lottery tickets that defy logic. But the prophecy isn't just about money. It's about unlocking a flow, an ancient channel of divine abundance that was sealed for centuries by fear, greed, and ignorance. And now, for the first time in generations, it is being revealed to you. Centuries ago, Solomon documented a specific arrangement of numbers, not as mere digits, but as sacred frequencies. These weren't just codes to earthly riches, they were keys to universal alignment. But when the temple was desecrated and the kingdom scattered, this prophecy was hidden away, deep beneath layers of translation, misinterpretation, and suppression, until a fragment resurfaced. One line, one sentence preserved in Aramaic, buried beneath a psalm that never made it into the final canon. And the translation? Who names these numbers with breath and truth shall call upon gold in the dust and victory in silence. Most people have no idea what that means, but the few who do, their lives change forever. Imagine you're walking through life feeling like the world is moving faster than your faith. Bills stack up, opportunities vanish. You do everything right, and still feel like something unseen holds you back. What if it's not just circumstance? What if there really is a spiritual code that governs favor? And what if the ancient world knew it, honored it, and then buried it so it wouldn't fall into the wrong hands? That's exactly what happened. And today, you'll not only hear the prophecy that the elite have tried to keep from you, but you'll learn how to activate it. This isn't superstition. It's not wishful thinking. This is spiritual engineering. Solomon wasn't just a king. He was a divine architect of energy, intention, and divine order. And if you feel drawn to this message, it's because your soul is remembering what your conscious mind has forgotten. You're not here by accident. You were guided to this exact moment, to hear these exact words, because your breakthrough is close. And yes, your numbers are closer than you think. This video is more than a message. It's a revelation, a sacred unlocking. And by the end, you will know how to speak the words, visualize the sequence, and draw the energy of Solomon's blessing into your own life. This isn't for everyone, but if you feel chills, a strange calm, or even a wave of anticipation, then it is for you. The ancient texts call it the shaking of the soul when truth returns. But be warned, once you hear what's coming, you cannot unhear it. Once you receive this prophecy, your world will begin to shift. Your awareness will expand. And signs, strange, divine signs, will begin to follow you. Are you ready to open what was locked for generations? Are you willing to speak what was once forbidden? If so, stay with me, because the numbers are here, and they've waited long enough. If your heart feels the weight of these words, if deep down you know this prophecy is for you, comment below. I claim Solomon's codes, and let the power begin to move in your life. Why is it that some people seem to attract wealth effortlessly, while others, good people, honest people, struggle their entire lives, always one step behind? You work hard, you sacrifice, you pray, But no matter how much you try, something always seems to go wrong. It's like the universe is playing favorites, and you were never chosen. You're not alone. Millions of people feel this way, silently carrying the weight of financial anxiety every single day. Not because they're lazy, not because they're careless, but because somewhere, somehow, something spiritual got disconnected. A thread of divine favor, meant to flow through their lives, was blocked by fear, by doubt, or by spiritual sabotage passed down through generations. And they don't even know it. Let's talk about that feeling that visits you in the middle of the night. You know the one. When everything is quiet and you start thinking, why is my life like this? Why can't I just catch a break? Maybe you've seen others win the lottery, get surprise inheritances, find money where they never expected it, and you smile, applaud them. But deep down, a question gnaws at your soul. Why not me? That question isn't selfish, it's sacred. Because asking that question is the first step to waking up. It's the beginning of remembering that you were never meant to live in lack. Abundance, true abundance, isn't just for the elite. It's not reserved for a chosen few. It was always meant to be yours too. But the world has been teaching you lies since you were a child. Lies like money is evil, or you're not worthy of riches, or some people are just unlucky. These are not truths. These are chains. And today, we name them for what they are. There is a spiritual pattern behind scarcity. It's not just economics. It's energetic. You've probably noticed it in your own life. Just when you start to get ahead, an emergency hits, a car breaks down, a bill arrives unexpectedly. An opportunity slips through your fingers. Every time you take one step forward, something drags you 2 steps back. That is not coincidence. That is not fate. That is a curse of stagnation, a force that thrives on hopelessness and keeps you trapped in cycles of lack. Solomon understood this. In fact, the entire reason he encrypted his prophecy was because he foresaw a time when the masses would be spiritually blind, manipulated by systems that drain their energy and wealth without them even noticing. He warned of a world where people would chase money, but never attract it, where they would work harder and harder, yet feel emptier and poorer inside. Does that sound familiar? If it does, don't feel ashamed. Feel aware. Because awareness is power, and once you see the cage, you can begin to break free from it. This is why the prophecy matters. This is why the 6 numbers aren't just digits, but spiritual coordinates. They mark a shift in your inner reality. But they will only work if the person speaking them is ready to reclaim their divine inheritance. And the first step is this: acknowledging that something has been stolen from you. Not your money, your belief, your alignment, your access to divine favor. Let me ask you something personal. How many times have you told yourself, maybe it's just not meant for me? How many times have you looked at your bank account and felt your chest tighten? How many dreams have you buried? Not because they weren't possible, but because you stopped believing you could ever afford them. That stops today, because the very act of listening to this message is a sign that your spirit is ready to return to alignment. You didn't stumble on this video by chance. You were drawn here by something higher, something ancient, something whispering, it's time. And if your heart is pounding, if your skin is tingling, if your eyes are starting to well up, it's because your soul recognizes what your mind is only beginning to understand. This is more than information. This is a divine interruption. I want you to know this. You are not broken. You are not forgotten. You are not cursed. But you have been disconnected. And it's not your fault. This system we live in was designed to distract you, to make you feel powerless. But now, you are remembering the truth. You were born to receive, not just enough to survive, but more than enough to thrive. And that shift starts right now. As you listen to what comes next, When I begin to reveal the structure of Solomon's lost sequence, I want you to make a decision, a real one. Decide that you will no longer agree with lack, that you will no longer partner with fear, that you will no longer let false beliefs dictate your future. And as you do, I invite you to join a community of awakening souls who are walking this path with you. If this message is speaking directly to your spirit, if you feel like something old and heavy is starting to lift, then don't just keep this to yourself. Click that subscribe button now, not just to follow this channel, but to make a declaration. I am stepping into my divine inheritance. Because every video here is a step further into truth, and every truth is a weapon against scarcity. Subscribe now and let your spiritual realignment begin. The moment we acknowledge the presence of a spiritual blockage is the exact moment we become eligible for its removal. But awareness is only the first step. What changes a life, what moves mountains, is activation. And that's where the power of Solomon's lost prophecy begins. You see, Solomon was not just a ruler, he was a codemaker, a decoder of the divine order. And those closest to him, scribes, priests, seekers, knew that his greatest gift was not gold or architecture, but the ability to translate divine wisdom into earthly instruction. He believed that every blessing that manifests in the material world starts first in the spiritual blueprint. And within that sacred matrix, 6 coordinates existed, 6 divine signatures, what we would now recognize as numbers. But to Solomon, they were more than that. They were keys, each one tied to an energy, an angelic alignment, a promise. He called them the 6 echoes, because when spoken with breath and belief, they echoed through the heavens and returned as manifestations, tangible, real, undeniable. What modern minds call luck is, in Solomon's design, the result of alignment, not chance. The prophecy, when revealed fully, includes these 6 echoes and a sacred phrase that activates them. Together, they form a spiritual circuit, one that connects your soul to the flow of divine abundance. So what exactly is the solution? It is a spiritual practice, a prayer, a pattern, a realignment. It begins with intention, then declaration, and then integration. First, you must understand that these numbers are not magic. They are mirrors. They reflect what is available to you when you step into a higher frequency of belief, surrender, and boldness. They don't work for those who treat them as a trick. They work for those who treat them as sacred. Just like a seed requires the right soil to grow, the prophecy requires the right spirit to be unlocked. Let me show you how this works. You begin with a quiet space, no distractions. You close your eyes, you place your right hand over your heart, and you whisper the ancient phrase left behind by Solomon's scribes. I stand in the chamber of truth. I call the 6, I speak the gold, I walk in the favor that was always mine. Then, one by one, you say the numbers. Not as if you're guessing, but as if you remember them, because something inside you will. Each number corresponds to a spiritual principle. 1. Calling. The awareness that you are chosen, not by merit, but by design. 4. Order. The structure through which divine energy flows cleanly. 11. Awakening. The ability to see with spiritual eyes. 23. Favor. Unexpected goodness that exceeds logic. 37. Access. The removal of barriers that once seemed immovable. 44. Completion. The fullness of manifestation, sealed and delivered. When these 6 are spoken with clarity and belief, while holding the phrase in your spirit, something begins to shift. You feel it first in your body. A warmth, a lightness, sometimes even tears. Then, over the next hours or days, you begin to notice strange signs, repeated numbers, birds behaving oddly, people offering help out of nowhere, opportunities resurfacing that had once vanished. These are the echoes Solomon spoke of. But this practice is not a one-time event. It is a portal. The more you align with it, the more you realize you're not pulling riches from nowhere. You're remembering what was always available to you. Money, yes. But more importantly, clarity, boldness, timing, vision. The solution is not how to win the lottery. That's too small for you. The solution is how to tune into the stream of supernatural favor, where blessings become inevitable. And that's exactly what the prophecy does. It tunes your spirit like an ancient harp, pulling your mind, heart, and energy into a place where miracles become math. Where 6 numbers written long ago become an unfolding plan of restoration and reward. But let me make something very clear. This is not a game. It is not a system for greed. It is a sacred return. And it only opens to those who approach with humility and expectancy. Because once you say the prayer, once you invoke the 6 echoes, you'll feel it. The weight lifting, the certainty rising, the veil thinning. It might happen slowly, like dawn, or it might strike you like lightning, cracking open a new dimension of possibility. Either way, you will know. And when the phone rings, when the email arrives, when the ticket hits, you'll look back to this moment and whisper, "It was real, and it is." The wisdom of Solomon didn't disappear. It went underground. It waited for those with eyes to see and ears to hear. And now, it waits for you. Are you ready to receive it? Then stay with me, because in the next part of this journey, I will walk you through the exact steps to enter Solomon's chamber and activate the numbers in your own life. Now that you've been introduced to Solomon's sacred prophecy and the 6 divine echoes that form the hidden current of spiritual wealth, it's time to activate. This is where many get stuck. They believe, they feel the energy, but they don't act. And without action, even the most powerful revelation will return to silence. Solomon himself warned that, "He who holds the lamp but walks not shall still remain in darkness." So now, let's walk. This step-by-step practice is more than a routine. It's a ritual, a sacred appointment with yourself and with divine order. And while it may seem simple, its power does not lie in complexity. It lies in intention, focus, and spiritual boldness. If you're ready, prepare your mind, your breath, and your spirit. Because the moment you begin, the process of unlocking will start. Step 1. Create the chamber of silence. Find a place where you won't be interrupted. Turn off your phone. Dim the lights. Sit upright, or stand if you feel more energy that way. The chamber of silence is not a place, it's a frequency. What matters is that you feel alone with the divine. No distractions, no expectations, just presence. Before you begin, breathe in deeply through your nose for 4 seconds. Hold for 4. Release slowly through your mouth for 8. Do this cycle 3 times. With every breath, imagine you are stepping away from the noise of the world and into a space Solomon once walked, a room made of light, wisdom, and purpose. Step 2. Speak the ancient phrase. Once centered, place your right hand over your heart. Speak softly but clearly the phrase once encrypted in scrolls buried beneath time. I stand in the chamber of truth. I call the 6. I speak the gold. I walk in the favor that was always mine. Don't just recite it. Feel it. Let the words echo through your chest like an ancient bell calling something lost back into being. Say it 3 times, pausing between each repetition to breathe and focus. Step 3. Invoke the 6 numbers with intention. Now, with your eyes closed, imagine a golden scroll unfurling before you. See each number glowing as it appears. 1, 4, 11, 23, 37, 44. Say each number aloud, slowly. Not as if you're reading digits, but as if you're calling back lost fragments of your soul's abundance. As you speak them, visualize a door opening with each number, With 1, a door of calling. With 4, a door of divine order. With 11, a door of awakening. And so on, until all 6 have opened, forming a circular chamber around you, filled with radiant light. Step 4. Anchor the desire with a statement of truth. After the numbers, speak your truth aloud. Choose a statement that reflects what you are now ready to receive. It could be, I am aligned with the abundance that was always mine. I receive financial overflow with grace and wisdom. I walk in divine timing and favor surrounds me. This statement seals the sequence. It tells the universe, I am no longer begging, I am remembering. Step 5. Conclude with gratitude before manifestation. Before the money appears. Before the victory arrives. Before the numbers match. Thank the divine now. Speak a phrase of gratitude, such as, thank you for the blessings already on the way. I honor the source that remembers me. I walk forward already full. Then remain silent for 1 full minute. Let the energy settle. Let it lock in. Repeat this ritual every morning for 7 days. Do not skip. Do not break the cycle. You are not repeating a wish. You are maintaining vibrational alignment. You're no longer pleading. You're claiming what's already been offered. But there's one more thing. What if you're still blocked? What if, despite doing this, something unseen still stops the blessing from arriving? That's not failure. That's residue. You may still be carrying spiritual weights that were placed on you by generations before you. Beliefs that you inherited. Oaths you didn't even know you made. Trauma that locked your spirit in survival mode. That's why some people get close to victory and then lose everything. And that's exactly why I want you to take the next step. This ritual is the key. But there's a lock you still need to identify. In the pinned comment below, there's a link to a free quiz. But this isn't just any quiz. This is a spiritual diagnostic tool designed to reveal what block, what invisible wall, has been silently stopping your abundance. It's fast, it's precise, and it's built to show you whether your issue is rooted in fear, guilt, ancestral trauma, or false identity. If you've ever felt like something is holding you back and you can't explain why, you need to take this quiz. It's not a gimmick, it's a mirror. And for many, it's the breakthrough moment. Because once you identify the spiritual blockage, everything else becomes easier. The rituals work faster, the numbers align, the answers come, but only if you dare to look beneath the surface. So here's my challenge to you. Click the link in the pinned comment right now. Take the quiz. Find out what spiritual force is standing in your way. And once you know, come back and finish this process with a fire in your soul. The type of fire Solomon spoke about when he said, "Those who chase gold shall find dust, but those who seek the source shall call gold from the dust." Your moment is now. Her name was Elena Duarte, 57 years old, a widow, 2 grown children who rarely called. She worked the closing shift at a small local pharmacy in San Antonio, where customers barely noticed her presence. People greeted her politely, of course. "Thank you, Miss Duarte," or "Have a good night." But she knew the truth. She had become invisible. To the world. To herself. And worst of all, to God. Elena lived in a 1-bedroom apartment with peeling wallpaper, a flickering ceiling fan, and a stack of unopened envelopes sitting on her kitchen table. Most of them bills, all of them reminders that she was always behind. Behind on rent, behind on dreams, behind on life. But that wasn't what broke her. What truly crushed her spirit was the quiet belief that nothing was ever going to change. That no matter how many times she prayed, fasted, or whispered her pain into the silence, nothing would shift. That was until one night, half asleep and scrolling through her phone, she came across a video. A strange one. The title read, "They tried to bury this Solomon prophecy, but the winning numbers are here." Something in her paused, something ancient. Like a memory her spirit had been carrying through lifetimes. She clicked. The voice on the video wasn't just talking. It was calling. And it felt as if the words were reaching across centuries, across space, across hopelessness itself, and landing directly in her chest. When she heard the ancient phrase, she whispered it under her breath. When the 6 numbers were spoken, she repeated them slowly, as if waking up from a spiritual coma. And for the first time in over a decade, Elena didn't feel numb. She felt stirred. That night, she followed the ritual with trembling hands and closed eyes. She sat on the floor of her bedroom, lit the only white candle she had left from an old vigil, and created her chamber of silence. The words flowed from her lips not like a recitation, but like a return. I stand in the chamber of truth. I call the 6. I speak the gold. I walk in the favor that was always mine. The numbers came next. 1, 4, 11, 23, 37, 44, each one like a key unlocking something ancient in her soul. No lightning, no voices, no miracles that night, but something changed in the atmosphere. She felt lighter, seen, remembered. Over the next few days, Elena began to notice strange shifts. On the 3rd day, a customer she barely knew came back to the pharmacy, and for no clear reason, handed her a small gift basket with an envelope containing a $100 bill. "God told me to bless you," the woman said. Elena wept in the stockroom. On the 5th day, she received a letter from her bank. A loan she had long stopped paying had been marked as resolved due to an internal recalculation. Debt erased. No explanation. But what happened on the 8th day was undeniable. For the first time in her life, Elena bought a lottery ticket, not because she believed in luck, but because she believed in alignment. She wrote the 6 numbers on the back of a napkin and whispered the phrase again. And that evening, when the numbers were announced, 5 of them matched. She didn't win millions, but she didn't need to. The payout was over $120,000, enough to pay off her apartment, take a trip she'd always dreamed of, and finally retire from the job that had stolen her knees and her time. But more than that, Elena reclaimed something far more valuable: her faith in divine justice, her belief that God had not forgotten her, that the prophecy was real, that the numbers were not just tools, they were summons. Now, Elena tells everyone who will listen: her church, her neighbors, even strangers at the bus stop. She doesn't shout or preach. She just smiles and says, "When you're ready, Solomon will call you too." And she means it. This isn't a fairy tale. This is a blueprint, a path carved through centuries of silence, now being walked by people who dare to believe again. Elena's story is not rare. It's the beginning of a movement. People across the world are awakening to the truth. They were never meant to live in lack. And you, hearing this now, are being invited into the same transformation. By now, something inside you has already shifted. Maybe it's a sense of clarity. Maybe a fire you hadn't felt in years. Or maybe it's something deeper, something you can't quite name yet, but it pulses in your chest like a drum calling you home. That's how you know the prophecy has already begun its work in you. Because truth, when it enters the heart, doesn't ask for permission. It rewrites the story. It speaks to the places logic cannot reach. And Solomon's words were never designed to entertain. They were designed to awaken. Let's pause, not to end the message, but to honor what it has done to your spirit so far. You've been introduced to something ancient, an encoded message, buried beneath centuries of dust and doctrine, now whispering directly to your soul. The 6 numbers, the 6 echoes, not random digits, but spiritual signatures: calling, order, awakening, favor, access, and completion. Together, they form not just a sequence, but a spiritual rhythm, a divine pulse that resonates with those brave enough to hear it. We began with a revelation that Solomon's wisdom was never fully erased, only hidden. that this prophecy, long silenced by institutions, is returning now because the time is ripe. The world is waking up. And you, watching this, listening now, are part of that awakening. You felt the pull. You stayed. You listened. That's not entertainment. That's alignment. Then, we spoke of the problem, the invisible wall that so many live behind. Not just lack of money, but lack of belief. Generational shame. Fear dressed up as humility. A lifetime of praying with hope, but never with certainty. We called it what it is, a spiritual disconnection. Not your fault, but now your responsibility. From there, we presented the solution. Not a hack, not a hustle, but a return to sacred practice. A ritual encoded in vibration and prayer. A method that does not beg the universe, but speaks to it in its own ancient tongue. The phrase, the 6 numbers, the chamber of silence, the breath, the declaration. All of it designed not to manipulate reality, but to restore your frequency to divine wealth. You were then given the practical steps, the ritual that Elena and others like her followed with trembling faith. And we made it simple. Not because it's weak, but because truth doesn't need to shout. It only needs to be spoken with belief. The moment you created that sacred space, you stepped out of scarcity and into intention. And from that place, miracles don't look like magic. They look like divine order finally catching up with you. And finally, you were shown a story. Not fiction, not fantasy, but a mirror. Elena's journey wasn't included to impress you. It was shared so your soul could say, if it happened for her, it can happen for me. That's the seed, and it's already been planted. So now we arrive here. Not at the end, but at the turning point. Because what happens next is not about what you know, it's about what you do. The universe doesn't reward potential. It responds to action, to movement, to boldness rooted in belief. And that brings us to your choice. You can walk away, feeling inspired but unchanged, letting this message fade like all the others. Or you can decide right now that this is the moment your story bends, that the curses end here, that you no longer tolerate being overlooked by life. But for that shift to happen, you must commit. Not just in word, but in energy. You must honor what you just received by walking it out. So here is the final truth I leave you with. The 6 numbers are not just a prophecy. They are a permission, a green light, a cosmic yes. You don't need to beg anymore. You don't need to wait for someday. The codes have been revealed. The door has been shown. And the voice that once called to Solomon is now calling to you. Will you answer? If your spirit is still resonating, if you're feeling something you can't quite explain but know you can't ignore, don't walk away from this moment. You didn't find this video by accident. You were summoned here. And whether you realize it or not, you've just stood at the threshold of something sacred. Now it's time to walk through. Because here's the truth. What you just heard is not theory. It's not a cute idea. It's a spiritual mechanism. But like any sacred tool, it requires your response. And if you've come this far, if you've watched, listened, and felt the truth burning behind these words, then you already know. The only thing left is your decision to act. So I want to challenge you with a question. What's been holding you back from receiving the life you were meant to live? Is it fear, doubt, old beliefs that money is evil? A voice that keeps whispering, you're not ready or you're not worthy? If so, then this is exactly why the next step is non-negotiable. There's a link pinned in the top comment below this video. That link will take you to a quiz, not a game, not a trick, but a spiritual diagnostic tool. It was designed to uncover the exact spiritual block that's been standing between you and the wealth, opportunity, and breakthrough that has been circling your life, waiting to land. Fear, guilt, trauma, false identities. One of them is still there, and this quiz will name it. If you truly believe that, now is your time. Click the link in the pinned comment right now. Don't hesitate. Don't save it for later. Later is the language of delay, and delay is the language of spiritual poverty. Comment below, I broke the block. If you're claiming your freedom now, then click the link, find the root, pull it out. Because abundance is not coming someday. It's waiting for you to say, I'm ready.